Looks like we got brown and yellow connected to yellow. The rest of them are all color coded. This brown one comes from, it goes to the tail lights, I guess. Comes from this yellow to yellow. There's this small screw right here. There's the subframe right here in the bottom. Here's where the muffler mounted, and here is where this screw was. I don't know what it does. Maybe it'll be clear when I put the muffler back on. But I believe it was, it might be a good place to mount the grounding wire, extra grounding wire. And here on the right side of the subframe there's rubber grommets I'll have to take out and put back. There's one back here. They look like they're both the same size. It's for routing of wires, which I'll have to figure out. I didn't take any routing pictures or videos, dumbass. I believe this rear grommet, that's where the wire for the brake goes. The brake cable, yes. It routes through here and up and through here and gets, these two little clips go onto it. And then this grommet is for the ignition cable, and also the black wire that comes out of the ignition coil, which is just a grounding wire that I was grounding somewhere else to this part of the subframe. May not be necessary, or to the engine would be better. Here's how the rear tire bolts go. The bottom left, I'm looking at the back of the bike, the bottom left one has bolt, washer, and a lock nut on the inside. The top left, bolt, couple washers, and a lock nut inside. The right bottom has a bolt, couple washers, a spacer. And the top right is just a nut and a washer. There are no, a bolt and a washer. There are no nuts on the right hand side. They're built in. Here we got the kickstand. It's held on with two keepers. I think it's just these keepers right here. These washers, I don't think are even loose, so pop that out and it should slide out. We're gonna find out. Alright, this is the front of the bike. Here's the engine. Here's the back wheel. And we're looking at the right hand side of the subframe. This is up. This is up right here. So here's the kickstand. It faces this direction. Spring goes on the left hand side. There's a little hook here where it hooks onto. This flangey stoppy stuff goes back here. I don't know what makes it so soft when it opens. That's it. So this faces to the back. This side faces to the front. Sorry about the TV in the background. And I also have a cold, so what are you gonna do? Here's a subframe. I didn't know until now. This is a 78 Hobbit. This frickin' snorkel goes in there. Air goes from here into this little chamber, then up into this little chamber, then through there. I can't see it. I mean, we just assume it goes by the filter area here. There's no filter in it, you can see the idea. And it goes up through here, and that's where the carb plugs in. This funny little rubber thing, it just snugs up against that. And here's the subframe. Everything's off of it. I'm going to have it sandblasted and painted. Everything's off except for the sticker that I guess I'll just have to lose. And this couple of rubber things here on these wire keepers. I guess I'll just mask them off with tape and leave them as is. I could shred it and plastic dip it, I guess. I think that's it for the subframe. So my son suggested, it's a good one, that I put all these pieces in bags and label them. If you don't know what they are, for instance, the rear wheel bolts, I made a video, and because they're all 4 different, basically 3 different kinds, but sorry about that goofy TV in the background. And so I'm bagging them all up separately. This is, I'm not labeling it, self-explanatory, but everything. There's bolts and spacers related to the HT coil. Here's the bike chain, rollers, tensioners, because there's like loose bolts. There's one that holds it on this, can't leave it on the subframe. That'll be fairly obvious to put back together. Luckily I have 2 Hobbits, one of them that's running in good order. I can go over to it and look at it. But as I found out with I had a Pook, I have 2 Pooks, but one's newer than the other. I took the wheel apart and did a bunch of work on it and switched them out. Long story, but they're not the same. One of them has loose bearings and one of them has the so-called sealed or caged bearings. And man, did they not go together the same at all, so that wasn't very helpful. But I finally figured out I have 1 spacer left over though, which is a bummer on a wheel, but I've gone over it a million times. The drawings in the parts catalog and exploded views, they don't match, so I've ridden it miles and miles. As far as I know, I'm not gonna die, not that way. So it seems obvious, I guess. I'm gonna start on the tube frame here, taking it all down. But here's the shocks. There, they go that way. Covers facing down, whatever you want to call it. But I'm taping up these bolts to keep with it, at least for now. Because they're just, they gotta come off the frame. So this has got the cap nut washer. Maybe a couple washers. I can't get that off. It's like 2 washers on the outside. The smaller one goes in that order for the shock. Let's see. And there's a small washer on the inside. Goes in that order right there. Just the left shock. Back of the bike. So here's how the bottom of the shock goes. There's a, I don't think it's a cap nut, it's a cap bolt. The washer goes through, and another washer, and the bolt screws into the subframe. Yeah, subframe here. If it matters, I don't know if I can do anything about it, but here's some of the original sticker locations. There's that one up by the triple tree. This one, close to the bend there. There's that one on the rack. I'm sorry, the rack, the subframe that I showed earlier. There's this one on the fender, or back fender, right above the tail light. Other than the one on the post here with all the identification stuff that has to stay, there's this one that I'll hate to lose about preserving nature. Well, I guess I want to lose it. I'm going to switch out the headlight, lower the handlebars, do some other mods. I think I'll take this, get the original lock and key ignition, put that on my other Honda that's missing it. This one will have nothing, maybe on off switch for the light. And I feel like I should note, I'm taking this Honda all apart. I'm going to take it to this gather and build up in Michigan to have it all painted and everything. Not painted, but powder coated. But it's an old bike, and somebody has worked on it, of course, before, and there's parts missing. For instance, the motor mount, there were several bolts missing. I put some back in, and as I took this apart, I found out there was yet another one missing, I assume. So some of the stuff I'm taking apart and demonstrating for me to put back together. Anybody else who can use it may be bogus, but as far as I know, it was working. I've never had this one running. I don't think there's anything really wrong with it. Had really low compression, so I'm gonna work on that while I'm having this thing painted. Well, I know I'll be very sorry I didn't pay more attention to routing of cables and wires, because if there's one thing I know about Hobbits, that's a very important factor, because a lot of stuff is just crammed. Here's the front brake cable from the assembly here. It goes through this grommet up to the right hand brake, which is on the wrong side as far as I'm concerned. There's the wiring harness. I think it's a rectifier, but it somehow, I think it's supposed to go through here. It's a mess here. I believe it's supposed to go through here like this and not get all smashed. And it all routes through the gas tank. There's a slot in the gas tank, you know, it goes on here. And it goes up through here to hide all that. And we'll just do a video here. It just does stuff here. There's, it does stuff. I don't know what to say. Just gonna have to figure it out. This looks like the, yeah, this is the decomp cable. It goes through there. Looks like every frickin' cable of every sort goes through this hole right here. So, in the top of the triple tree, I believe they're called. And then these two cables here, one's a rear brake cable and one's a throttle cable. They route through this area. It's the main motor mount critter where it turns slightly with the subframe, and yeah, rear brake cable. And then there's this part of the harness. This goes back, these little clippy things. There's an extra clippy things down here towards the bottom. I don't know what they do. This hole is where the stay that holds the fender sturdy goes. I believe I stole this one to put on my other Hobbit. I stole a lot of parts off this. They'll have to be replaced. Alright. Off comes the front wheel next. And it's just pretty self-explanatory. I think you got castellated nuts. I already took out the cotter pins. They were trash. They shouldn't be reused anyway. This should just hop off. Well, okay, I'm just videoing most of these steps. Here's what seems obvious when you take it apart. You put back together and you think, where the hell? How did this... Anyway, these stays for the fender, they go just under the castellated nut. Between it and the fork itself on both sides. Here's the castellated nut. Here's the stay. Here's the fork. And then inside the fork is, well, don't need to get into that yet. If I take the front wheel apart, which I will, repack the bearings and all that stuff, I'll worry about it then. Alright, turn into the front wheel a little more. The brake cable, throttle cable had to be unscrewed from here. There's a washer and a spacer on the throttle cable side that go inside the fork washer, spacer. On the other side, which would be what, the left side as you're looking at as you're riding the bike, you have a washer, goes inside the fork, between the fork and this brake assembly. I don't see a spacer. And I also have to take the brake cable loose here from the front wheel. And we'll take it off the forks, or the handlebars, later in the Speedo. So I'm taking the brake cable, the front brake cable off from the front assembly. I believe there's a washer missing. There should be a washer right here between the back of this lever and the spring. So there's a washer on the other end of some sort. So I'll replace that. So I'm taking the front fender off. And it looks to be there's these bolts holding on this side. For some reason there's two washers. And the spacer looks like it's welded. It's not a spacer. Well, I guess it is. It's welded onto the fork. This side, I think it only has one washer, but I just can't tell yet. Yeah, it's got two. They both have two washers. So I'll try to remember that when I put it back together. As always, sorry about the noisy television. I don't feel like getting up to change it. Or turn it down. So I got the front fender off. Got these rubber protector thingies from cables, I guess, and so they'll have to come off. That might be a little tough to take off and put back without wrecking them. So I'm gonna try. Well, these rubber protector thingies, I was able to gently pop them out without destroying them. Getting them back in might be tougher, but here's the last one. Let's see. Just pull. Still intact. Alright, there's these screws right here that go into the frame. There's a washer. This side has a washer. I think that's what holds the gas tank. I forget what this is. Maybe it's for the plastic covers, the plastic running boards, which I do not have. But they gotta come off, so I'm gonna try to remember. They go there, about an inch long. What's this? M6s. But that hold on this side holds the rubber. Well, this conglomeration, I think that's a rectifier. This whole harness deal. Yeah. So I'll try to, I'm not sure how to label that stuff that fastens to the frame. I don't know. Well, if there are too many bolts in a bag, I got one bolt bag labeled frame, fender. That could become a conglomeration. I'll figure it out though. Alright, goofy TV show. Anyway, the bike's upside down here, the frame. But here's the wiring harness. You followed up here. I don't know if this is factory or not. Some kind of a zip tie or tie wrap. Zip tie? Yeah. This is the wiring harness and the brake cable, the rear brake cable work together. Various zip ties. There's another one holding some stuff together. This stuff goes to the horn, among other places, I guess. It's all about the routing, though, and I'll figure it out. It's hard to take pictures and document it well enough. Okay, here's the wiring harness. It's a mess here, but this wire comes out this side of it. It must come from the headlight. But there's these connectors. I don't know which is which. Let's see. God. This looks like a black wire. Goes to the black wire on the horn. This looks like a green, yellow wire, greenish yellow. Is it green and yellow or just green? I don't know, but they match through the horn itself, and there's one more yellow one. It looks like, is that white? God, it's so filthy. I guess it's white. It goes to white, which is a what is that to go to? I don't know. I don't know. Goes to this weird green thing here. Can you see that? That's a white wire. And I guess it's just a ground, as it were. I don't know. I guess that's enough to know to put it back together, though. That's a puzzlement. I may never know what that is. Alright, this is frightening. This is inside the headlight bucket. And oh, what a conglomeration that is. I don't have to get into that now. I'm going to try to take this all out as a separate unit. Pull all the cables with it. I don't know about that, though. That may not come out with it. That's going to be tight. I think it will, though. Don't worry about the headlight later, because I'm going to change it out, get rid of the speedometer probably. There's a different thing altogether. Okay, here's what holds the headlight bucket on. Here's what holds the headlight bucket on. This bolt right here, and there's a nut on the inside, and a star washer and a regular washer. And that looks like a pain in the ass to switch out, but gets it all that's holding the headlight on. Then I'll pull all the wires and cables down through with it, which is, it's not all that much stuff, but alright, try it out. So instead of pulling these wires, cable through this little hole, I took off the horn cover. Instead of having this little hole to deal with, it's just wide open. So this will come through a lot easier, all these other cables. Yeah, I still don't know what this green thing is. I'll have to go in the parts thing. It almost looks like it's a component. Electrical, like a resistor or something. I don't know, man. It's crazy. I'm not going to take it apart. Unless I know. Oh, and here's a fun thing. I'd read about this and never really noticed. They said wires, I've been told wires go through the handlebars. Yes. Look at that. Yeah, goes through the handlebars. Comes out there at the base of the handlebars. That could be tricky. Here's the other one. Goes in the handlebars. There's a grommet of sorts. That is going to be tough, but I think I can just take off the handlebars and leave it together for now. Worry about that when I tackle the headlight, because I want to switch out the handlebars and headlight both. Simplify the wiring as much as I can. Oh, look at this mess. It shall be dealt with, but not today. Headlight, cables, it goes through the handlebars. Ah, God, fishing that through there. Grommet's snug. I don't know. I'm thinking maybe take it out this way. But that means I'll have to get into the headlight, and that's all got to be documented to every connection. Although they seem real good about matching colors. Might all just go right back together, but yeah, and all these cables, they should all be taken off one at a time. I guess I'll do that now. That one's in bad shape. See, that's the decompression cable. No, what is that? Throttle? Yeah, throttle cable. That's in rough shape. You're looking for a new one there. Okay. It's frightening-er and frightening-er. Alright, I've taken the handlebars and top triple tree, I believe it's called, off. Pretty self-explanatory until I get to this point. Here's the nut used to tighten the fork with. I'm sure there's ball bearings, loose ball bearings in here, I assume. This thing goes on this way. I'm not sure if it's obvious. I'll take it off and see. Chrome shiny sides up right now. Yeah, there's actually a raceway. And I think they're caged bearings, which is good. But I'm going to be super careful not to lose them. So let's try it. I do this stuff off camera because I can't hold it and do it, but I think this video is mostly for me to put stuff back together, so I think it'll work. Oh, when I took this cap nut off, I was holding the triple tree on. There's a washer under it. Cap nut with the, looks like the beautiful fake wood grain. I'm not sure. It's a cap, plastic cap. Yeah. Alright. That's it. So here's the top the bearing. This is their top or bottom. Yes. That's the bottom. The top, you can see the bearings exposed a little more. The bottom has a little ridge. And I'm going to assume it goes like that. Not like that. That would be wrong, wrong, wrong. I'm assuming there's a bottom one too. We'll see. I'm going to treat these like the parts of the space shuttle that can't be gotten anymore, because I don't know if you can get them anymore. So yeah, here's the post for the fork, and there's a I pulled this fork section out, and here is a bearing that is much like the top one. It's just reversed. So you got the bearings on the bottom one point down. So you can see the exposed balls, and the other side of it has a ridge. But they both fit against it in that fashion. I don't know if the bottom one's separate from the top, different from the top. That would suck. Let's see. I assume they're the frickin' same, but I better make sure and they look like they're the same, huh? It'd be dreadful if they weren't, because I'm not gonna label them separately. Okay, that's the bottom one. Let's see if this one snugs right in there. They're both the same. Good. Good. So here's the routing of the taillight harness. Goes through this grommet in the fender. Got these little keeper critters all along here. Keeper critter. And it goes through the fender to the taillight. And the taillight has this little clip thingy, reinforcement thingy on the inside. These grommets, there's 3 spots here and 2 that bolt to the frame. There's a spacer in between them, so you got a nut, washer, rubber, and goes through the fender, and then there's rubber. There's a spacer in between the 2 rubber things in the fender. Then there's a washer and a nut. 3 times. And so I took off the bolts that hold the fender to the frame. There's 3 sets, and there's rubber washers. You know, this thinner one goes inside the fender. The thicker one is between the frame and the fender. I say on all 3. The front one, they look like they're both thick. The front one's just a single, but the back ones are a pair, thicker and thinner. I don't know if it matters much, but it makes sense to me. So this might be the last of the stickers, but this is two. I definitely need to keep this plate. Of course, it has the VIN number, model information, tire inflation, all that kind of stuff. But I want to keep this one too. It's the only one, I believe, on the bike that says it's a PA50 II, which, if you know Hobbits, that's important. Don't want no PA51s. It doesn't say it on this. I don't see it. 78. I mean, if you know Hobbit 78 all yellow, that's a PA50 II, but I'm gonna paint this thing orange. So I mean, that's pretty well hidden. I might just, I don't know. If I can buy stickers like that, I could have them made. No, the rest of these stickers have to be here. Alright, figure something out. So I'm removing the taillight assembly from the rear fender. And there's no washer on either one of these nuts. I guess it doesn't need it. This acts like a washer, I suppose. And I think I'll put star washers back on it though, or lock nuts, because I'm going to go crazy with lock nuts, star washers, and or Loctite. When I put this back together. Alright, I'm disassembling the front fork. It seems incredibly easy. Incredibly easy. I hope it's not screwing up. All you have to do is take this boot loose, just peel it down. See, that doesn't want to turn much. But this just pulls straight out. It seems, unless that all falls apart. Oh, there's a ball in there. What the hell? Don't lose that. But I'll keep this all intact for now and take it off later. But this part, it locks right into the top here. I will show myself and you. See, it spins till it hits the top, then it's this spot right here. It's got a flat spot. Has to go one way. But anyway, so I'll take this out. You got your rubber boot, you got your fork itself, you got your spring. You got a ball in there. I don't know what that does. But I'm thinking if you lose it, you'll be sorry. Spring, there's a ball. See that rolling? Yeah. And there's a top thingy. I don't know how it locks in. I don't plan on taking this apart at all. Just clean and re-grease it. There's a hole there. I don't know what it does. I'm sure I can find help online if I need it, but I think for my purposes I'm good. I'll just wrap this up, bag it and tag it. Okay, look it. Here's the front of the fork assembly. Here's the top of the triple tree. I'm getting this because I want to make sure I get right and left forks. Put this fork up where it locks into place where it belongs. And you will note the right one does not have this nub. The left one has this nub that holds the, I think that the brake assembly keys into. Keep the brake assembly from spinning. And that faces towards the back of the bike. Back of the bike. And the right fork, as you're facing forward on the bike like you're sitting on it, it's got this critter. And I believe that helps lock in the speedometer assembly. I don't know about this one, the left fork. But anyway, that makes this the right fork. Guess that's clear enough. Right fork has this nubbin. Left fork has a nubbin, pretty much the same. The main difference is the left fork has the stop, the thing, the brake assembly, which I put away. Yeah, it's on the front. There it is. That slot there in the brake assembly right there. Keys into this. The brake assembly is on the left. As your face.